Hello everybody, welcome back to Unconditional Surrender, designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. This is the Me, Myself, and I campaign. I'm Dren608, and we are about to start on the December 1940 turn, picking up from where we left off last time. I am going to try to navigate using this instead of scrolling around the screen. It might make things go a little quicker. So, we are starting in December. We need to bring up the weather track and the player aid card and roll some dice. Starting with the cold zone for December, we roll a 5, so it remains severe. For the mild zone, we roll a 1, which makes it a poor weather. And for the warm zone, we roll a 6, and it stays severe. So, the snow broke in the middle of Europe, but it maintains itself on either side. That being December weather, we go to the declare war phase. I've been trying to puzzle out a way to make poor weather work for me and be able to conquer Denmark early, and I don't like the chances that I could just fail outright and then have an active country here that the British might try to do something with, so I'm going to pass. The other two factions can't declare war, and we go to the economy phase. This will be pretty quick. The French stay at 16. The British go up to 18. The Russians get to go up to 24 because they now have 12 factories. And the Germans still have their 14 factories, so they're at 28. And that takes care of all three economy phases. There is no strategic warfare phase. As far as I know, I kind of looked around the map earlier, and I don't think there's any strategic movements that I want to make at this point. So we go to the German operations phase. Quite honestly, I don't... Oh, I know what I need to check. Do I have things coming in? The Germans will be building an infantry shortly. So I am going to go ahead and spend 2 build points to activate this armor and just go ahead and move him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we'll put the airplane on top. And that's my operations phase. Everything is in supply. Onwards. The Western operations phase. They're not going to do anything. I am not going to place the sorties on the British convoys because I will just pay to take them off later, just to speed us along a little bit. Soviets don't have anything to do either. Or do they? I haven't checked the Soviet map. I knew I forgot to do something before I started. So let's go see if the Soviets are actually where I want them to be. No, I do have to move 1. So I have to spend a build point. I will activate this guy, and he goes 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we go on. There is no supply phase, replacements phase. Germans don't have anything to replace. The UK would end up spending 3 and then 3 again for the 2 convoys. I would have put this sortie on here at the end of my operations phase, and it would have come off. So it's just sort of an exercise in futility. Same thing would have happened here. End of operations, I would have done this, and then now I would pay to get it off. So just to speed through the winter turns, I'm just not bothering to do that as much. And we go out of replacements. There are no upgrade units. Mobilization. The Axis does have an infantry unit, so we must flip him to build him. It'll cost us a build point to put him on the map. And, where do we want to put him? Let's go ahead and drop him in Kiel for now. I'm just going to leave this up. The Western doesn't have anything to build yet. The Soviets do, so they'll spend another build point here. And once again, this... Excuse me a moment, I'm going to mute my mic. Alright. So we are building the Russian, that's what I was doing. So I needed to get to Russia. And we're going to put him in Minsk for now. Okay. And that takes care of mobilization. Diplomacy phase, this is the more important part of what goes on of these turns. There's 2 political successes and a political failure. Area seized. It's just probably about as good as it's going to get for the Germans at this point, so they're going to take one more chance. Hope they don't pull the political failure. Political success. Well, that's good for me. I'm going to go down here and clone one of these and take this. I know something. I think I'm going to go ahead and this is always so annoying that the things don't scroll over the boxes. But I'm going to go ahead and put it in Rome at this point. I actually kind of want the Allies to activate Spain because that gives me a reason to go and attack it with the Germans. But now this puts a quandary on the British. There's only one more political success. There is a political failure in an area seized. So the British are actually going to just go ahead and start to reload the cup. Oh boy, that's a really tough call, isn't it? Don't need factions, I need national tracks. So I guess I'm going to take a big chance here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pull a chit. Oh my goodness. Another political success. I really don't want to activate Spain at this point. But I do think that I will come over here to Italy and basically negate that marker. So, that worked out well for them. The Russians don't really like this at all, so they're going to they have to put in a no event because they're going to throw their area seized back in. They don't like the idea of there being a political failure there that could get them in trouble on their front, so they're going to try and stack the cup in their favor. And that was 5 build points for them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the diplomacy phase for all 3. They have not defeated Germany. End of turn phase. Faction card. here, and where's the turn track? There it is. Bring the turn track up here. From November of 39, we go into January 1940. The Germans have some stuff here. They get a surprise attack marker in their events box, which I can't get to at the moment. I have an infantry unit that goes into mobilization, and I have an airplane that goes into mobilization. I'll move the card up a little bit so that I can get my surprise attack marker into the events box. And that takes care of December of 39. We will go right ahead into the next turn. So we're going to just go right into the weather phase. Bring up the weather track and player 8 card. Let's roll for January weather. January in the cold zone is a 2, so the snow slacked off a bit. And the weather in the mild zone is also a 2. So, and then in the warm zone, it's a 4, so we're all in poor weather for January. Guess the early snows are relenting. Once again, I am sitting at, this thing keeps covering my turn track. So that's weather. I'm not going to declare war. The economy phase, I'm going to do all 3 together. It's actually an exercise pretty much in futility here, but 28, 18, 16, 24. The Germans. I suppose I should have reset that stuff. The Germans really don't have anything to move at the moment. I will have an infantry unit to build that's going to go into the convoy. So I have 3 infantry units up here. Depending on how weather goes in March, will determine what I do there. I have no moves for the Germans. Everyone's in supply. Same applies to the Western faction. There's 2 sorties placed. I will just pay to have them removed during the production phase. There's no strategic warfare, no strategic movement, no operations for the Axis or the West, other than placing my 2 sorties. Soviets, I believe, have an infantry unit to move here that's sitting in Minsk. I don't remember where it goes. I don't think it goes anywhere. This one has to go to Riga. No, he goes to Kaunas. He goes through Tallinn and to Riga. So I think he sits there in Minsk for now. So the Russians don't have anything to do either. There is no supply phase, no replacements here. 6 points from the British to reset their sorties, which I'm just saving time by not actually doing it, just paying for it. There is no upgrades. There were no, I paid for the replacements. So we get to the mobilization phase. I did pay the replacements on the British replacement thing, but no one else has to do any replacements. Oh, yes, we did. Let's go back. There are Axis replacements. I forgot. I built something last turn. So this guy, spend a build point. Hello. And he becomes a full-strength infantry unit. Okay. The British pay their 6 to get rid of their, which I already took off, get rid of their sorties. Soviets don't have any replacements. Upgrades or not. Mobilization phase. Yes, the Germans are going to spend 1, 3 for their aircraft, and 1 for their infantry. So this infantry is flipped. And he will go in to this X. And the aircraft. What the heck? He wants to come play games with us. I've got enough build points to reset things, I think. And he gets a sortie marker, which then goes up to 4. Because that's why airplanes come in. When you build them, they come in with 4 sorties on them. So do naval units when you build them. And that takes care of Axis mobilization. Western faction doesn't have anything, and the Soviet faction doesn't have anything. Diplomacy phase. Hey, we're back here. Unfortunately, with no political successes available, I believe I'm just going to have to try and reset this for next year. I think that's right. I have more than enough build points to do this, so I'll put a political success back in the bucket along with a no event. And the British will also spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they will not pull a cup. They're going to load it up for the Russians. They're going to have to put a no event in when I put another political success in. So we've kind of loaded up the cup for the Soviets to go ahead and try and pull something. And so they're actually going to pull a counter from the cup. And they got another area seized. They are very happy Russians. Golly gee willikers, which one do I want to take? Up here's where I need to be. Well, I guess we'll just take that means I don't need to have this up anymore. I'm doing an area seized. I need to go down here, grab this. I'm going to drop this up in that area someplace. Which didn't work. Okay. I really need to remember to take the national track down before I do these things so that things will scroll over. I don't know why I'm bringing this over here. This is silly. This was not a political success. I'm just not paying attention here. I just need to put a control in there so I know that I took Kaunas. So, Lithuania is what I'm trying to find on the faction card. Lithuania. I think it's that one. Yes. Okay, I get another army out of my conditional box. And there's the national tracks. They give me another factory and 2 more well points. Woohoo. So we're doing well here as the Russians. Last 3 games I've played, the Russians have done very well. That's the end of the diplomacy phase. There is no victory. We go to the end of the turn phase. Need that because we have to move the Russians down. And the turn track. So we go into February. The Germans get another unit in their mobilization box. The eliminateds from the Russians will go into the mobilization box. I gotta move the faction card up some because the Western Allies get their other ground support marker. Woohoo! And it is now February of 1940. And I am going to go ahead and try and tuck this one in. I seem to be going at a pretty good pace here. So we'll see if we can't get through February here. And then next episode we'll start with the March-April turn because I might actually get lucky and get a clear weather someplace. So let's close that. We've moved everything into the right places here. We need to bring up the player aid card and the weather track and make some die rolls. For the cold, it stays poor with a 2. For the mild, it is also poor. Well. And then for the warm zone in December, it is poor. So everything stayed poor. Didn't have to move any markers. That was the weather phase. Declare war, no. Economies. Oops, don't need those. Need the national tracks. So Russia's up to 26 now. Britain's at 18. France is at 16. Germany's at 28. Okay. So now we are doing February of 1940. That's the economy phases. Again, no strategic warfare yet. Still don't have any strategic movement for the Axis. Or do I? No, I don't. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and do a strategic movement here. Just to save me from a little bit more. I will strategically move this thing all the way to there. That's supposed to be on top of it. Stop it. There we go. There's my strategic move. Oh boy. West doesn't have one. Soviets. What the heck? Let's be silly. We'll do a strategic move of this guy here. And we'll strategically move into cons. There we go. These huge strategic moves, such tension on what are we doing. Operations phase for the Axis. I am pretty sure. See, I have another infantry unit coming in. So do I need to make a hole somewhere? I could drop him in Kiel. So I can move him. So I will spend. Where are we? I will go ahead and spend a German build point to move this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm done. Done with my operations. Western operations, we put a sortie on each of those ships that I'll take off in the replacements phase. Soviets don't have operation. There was a no supply. Excuse me, voice is starting to go on me there. Replacements phase for the Axis, they do have this guy here, so they'll spend another build point. And this guy here will now flip. So he's at full strength. And I believe the Soviets have something to build as well. Yes, but they don't have to do replacements. So replacements. Oh, and the Germans will also spend 3 build points. 1, 2, 3. They do have an airplane here. 1, 2. Yay. So probably should have had the French go up and attack German aircraft, but it's not like they don't have the build points to reconstruct them. That's an ongoing debate. I'd like to hear other people's opinions about whether they bother to have the French Air Force keep harassing the German Air Force on the front, kind of trying to force it to go fly up north to the Netherlands or something like that. I always find it to be kind of futile because both sides have all the build points in the world to keep rebuilding things. It might make a difference. Maybe you can cut down a few sorties when they do the West invaded. I never really thought that much about it. Replacements Axis, replacements Western. They spend 6 for that. 2 amazing sorties that I have to put on my convoys. Soviets don't have any replacements. There are no upgrades. Mobilization phase. The Germans have an infantry unit to place. So they will. This guy has to be flipped because we're not Russians. And I'm going to go ahead and put him in Kiel. That's why I cleared out Kiel, so I can just put him back there. The West doesn't have anything. The East will go ahead and spend their build point. Close these tracks. I need to come over here somewhere. Trying to remember where I put this guy. I think this one goes in Odessa. That was the hole he left me before, is he left me Odessa. So I'm going to try and plug that hole. Basically, I had the Romanians lined up here, just east of the Prut in this swamp. And if you count, it's 3 into 35-45, and then 2 more to go to 34-45. So that's a grand total of 5. And then the river and 2 for a city was 8. So I managed to take Odessa on the first turn because he didn't think I could get there. We found out differently, so now there'll be a Russian unit there. It might make something else weaker from his setup, so maybe it's a gambit that the Russians do to slow down the Germans overall. We'll see if it matters. Okay, that's mobilization. Diplomacy. This is the important part of things. The diplomacy bucket. There's a couple political successes, 1 failure, 1 area seized. So that's 1, 2, 3. 2 good ones for the Germans, 1 really bad one. 1, oh crap, he did it again, 1. That's the area seized one. And then there's 6 no events. So I really need to try to get like a pro marker or maybe activate Romania before I lose it, kind of thing. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and pay. All 5 are gonna do something. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody's actually gonna go ahead and spend their 5. So all 3 factions are gonna go do something in diplomacy. I'm just trying to figure out what. And I think in the German case they're going to pull. And they get a no event. Makes it possible that the British might get another good one, and maybe they can put a crimp in Germany by taking away Bucharest. Yeah, let's have the British pull as well. And another no event. And the Russians, being greedy Russians, will put their area seized marker and a no event back in. So, again, it's more stacked to the Russians again. And that's diplomacy for February of 1940. If you look at the turn track, let's see. That was our 3 diplomacies. They haven't beaten me. So we do an end of turn phase. So here's the turn track. Whoops. Shouldn't have brought that up first. Oh no, I can still get to it. There it is. There's the faction track. There is absolutely nothing going on as we move into March. No units, no funny business. So we are where we are. We are at March, and I believe I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. We will start up with March in the next episode, March of 1940. This is, close this down and put us back down here by the logo stuff for the closing screen. And this is Dren 608. This is the Me, Myself, and I campaign for Unconditional Surrender by Vasta, published by GMT Games. Please leave feedback on what you like, what you don't, and we will see you next time. Bye.